Okay, welcome to another episode of the Critical Introverts podcast. I'm your host, Senor Filth. I'm with Nate Kapnicky and Trevor Brown of Acropolis News. And today, I guess I'll just set this up. Due to the whole Rings of Power controversy that's been happening, I had no interest whatsoever, even when the show was first announced that I was going to watch it. And now seeing the reviews come in, it was kind of a confirmation as to what I knew was going to happen. So I remembered how much I loved Lord of the Rings films. So I just said, why not just rewatch the trilogy? And I did this past week or so. And I just remembered how good those movies are. But most importantly, something that I think culturally we've kind of forgotten, how important heroes are and how to tell the story of a hero and what makes a hero. Because I'm beginning to think that this lack of understanding of heroes is really kind of bleeding into our culture, and we're becoming, how would you say, weak, or I don't know. There's a backbone to the culture that's really missing, and I think that the lack of understanding heroes might be somewhat of a factor in that. So I guess we'll just jump into it. This is just a episode just purely based on heroes, the importance of them, and why these stories need to be told and told right. I guess I mean, you guys want to jump in, and what do you think about the topic?
I'll go last.
I'll say that, yeah, I've been watching the new Rings of Power, and yeah, I agree that because I wanted to like it, and so far I really just think it's kind of all over the place, and I don't feel attached to the characters so much. I mean, it definitely has its beauty, visually. It does have some beautiful scenes, but I feel like it's just there's just so much that's not being said. It feels a little rushed, and yeah, it doesn't do justice for the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit at all. But it does have some entertainment value. I would just say that, to answer your question about what is taking place in our country, especially our country, as far as people in movies not being so much into the hero myth, where movies aren't really structuring the hero to be strong and not being inspiring for people to strive for that. I would just say that a lot of that has to do with the idea that people who think in terms of mob, like a hive mind,
yeah,
they're wanted that way because the individual is the true hero. So the more that they can get people to be in this hive mind, mob rule mentality, then this starts to move the belief of a hero onto a president, or onto Jesus, or onto aliens, or onto even the police and military, where we put all of our belief and faith into these external figures instead of into ourselves.
Yeah.
And so this is all about getting rid of the individual, because the individual is the only one who can truly be the hero. Because the hero really translates to the spiritual journey of the self. And that is a very important thing that has been systematically pushed out. And then on top of that, are pushed out of our country, or out of the mindset of the country.
Yeah.
But when we look at movies, they are making the superheroes so ridiculous that people look at that as well, that's ridiculous. No one can, be a hero.
Yeah.
Only this is all make believe stuff in movies. This is only something that is made up and fictional, and then people stop looking inwardly. And that's what leads to materialism. So we have a world full of this, atheistic, materialistic belief system, and this is again what pushes the individual out of the equation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
at least that's how I understand it.
Yeah, there definitely is a like an individual kind of I don't know, inkling to every hero story. It's like if people, it's like if you took a look at the like Jesus story in its most simplistic kind of backbone of it, it's just about an individual who goes up against the status quo, just based on his own, I don't know, principles, and even sacrifices himself in defense of his principles. Just as a simple theme or message, that's something that I think everyone could learn from and absorb. It doesn't really have to be whether you think but Jesus was real or not. Just there's something about the story of that should resonate. And it sucks that kind of theme is kind of being sort of destroyed with modern storytelling. It's really a shame, because it's turning like the trend of heroes now are so like they're bratty, they're selfish, they're very one-dimensional. They don't really go through a like an inner spiritual change. It's almost like the rest of the world just realizes how awesome they are, and that's the end of the story. So
no, it's not that it's the end of the story. It's that is exactly what the story is.
Mm-hmm.
We could go through some examples, but it's basically, and I know this because I've been getting into anime now, that you can tell a hero story differently.
Yeah.
Essentially. And like, don't get me wrong, like all my favorite anime characters, they're not heroes at all. But there are ones that I've watched like where you could say that they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you just go through the list, which for the memes I'm going to call Western media, and in Western media there's this sort of proclivity to just kind of go, well, the main character is the main character, so he can't be wrong.
Yeah,
there's no way the main character can be wrong. The main character is the main character. It's the protagonist. It's pro. It's supposed to, but film and stuff has really been thinned out. So you basically get to this point where the main character is already perfect, but it's everyone else. It's the society that needs to change. Or if only the main character just had power,
mm-hmm.
Then the main character could like make the world all lovely or whatever. It's very Nietzschean in all the worst ways. So you get like what's a really good example
of an anime hero, or just a hero in general?
No, of like this problem. Like I would say Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel is the biggest.
She starts the film at the peak of her powers and runs around like God, imposing her will on anything and everything that moves, because at the end of the day, nothing can stop her. So she just gets her way.
Yeah.
And like there was a deleted scene where like she just takes someone's bike and clothes.
Yeah,
because he like smiled at her wrong. It's like, you thought that this is a hero, But then the end of the movie where she rejects society and stops inhibiting her apparently godlike powers, so that she could be free to just destroy everything around her, because that's what heroes do, is they beat the bad guys. Like, no.
Yeah, it seems like people have think that a hero is just the person who has power and kicks ass, but like there's more to it.
That's
there's
our heroes are villains.
Yeah.
Really where it's at.
It's a fucking bummer. And the thing that was annoying about the Captain Marvel movie is I remember watching it and just being incredibly bored. But I knew that the twist was coming, that like she was fighting for the bad guys, because I remember the bad guys were, or her crew were the bad guys in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I think, like the Kree or the Kroll or whatever the fuck they're called. So they knew that that was coming, and I was thinking, okay, they're probably, that's at least going to be her like, no, it can't be moment, like she has this kind of inner turmoil, but
but she doesn't change her ways.
No, that doesn't happen in the movie.
All.
She just goes like, oh,
switch teams.
Yeah, she just goes, oh, I guess I'm fighting those guys now, and that's her revelation. I'm like, fuck, this movie fucking sucks a dick.
Yes, it was so bad. It was the worst.
Yeah,
the worst of all Marvel movies.
The montage of like her standing up against all those
men,
men in her repressed memories.
Yeah.
When she was a different before she became part alien or whatever. Because spaceship fuel leaked on her skin while she flew back like a couple feet.
Yeah. I found one of those, like they show her like, I think she's climbing a rope while she's in the military or something like that, and there's people giving her a hard time. But I was thinking of like, if you're not good at climbing a rope,
it's basic training.
They're gonna give you a hard time. There's nothing. They're not gonna like say, "Oh, you're a dude, so thumbs up." They're just gonna ball bust you. So, like, what the fuck?
Even cannon fodder needs to be physically fit.
Yeah. So, man, that really sucked as a movie. Jesus. But
then even like decent movies that come from Marvel, like they're not. None of them are the traditional hero's journey, like at all.
I would say
even Captain America. I'm the best person ever, and I'd always do the right thing. If only I just had power. If only I was as big and strong as everyone else. Then I can do it. And he doesn't like train his body.
Yeah, that is true.
Like, he needs to get the serum or whatever to be Captain America, but like, there's never a point where he like trains his body in order to like all they had to do was just show him working hard instead of showing him suffering. Because I think suffer, acquire power, and then like just do whatever they want.
Yeah, well, I think with Captain America, I think in that movie, like his struggle was just the beginning of when he's like a little weak guy or something like that. When he becomes Captain America, I think his sort of training is when he sees that he's only being used for like propaganda. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I think that was like the moment where he had like, there has to be some like realization that you're doing something wrong in these movies, in a good hero movie. And I think to sort of defend Captain America, I'm not saying it's the best movie ever, but I think
I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm saying it's a hero movie.
Yeah. I do think Nate brought it up earlier. I think Doctor Strange does it pretty well, because he is someone that's like top of his game, and then he loses it all, and then he finds like a spiritual kind of awakening to become Doctor Strange or whatever the fuck. So
he opens his third eye to religion.
Yeah.
And becomes a better person.
Yeah. Like there has to be something about like realizing that you're fighting for something bigger than your own personal kind of bullshit. So
right, yeah, it's all about starting out as a normie, right, and then you get the call, whatever that is, like whether the call is you have an awakening, you realize that things are not right, and you don't really understand the world, so you go on this journey. And with us in reality, it's all about going on an inward journey. But in these movies, it's about kind of expressing the journey in a very creative way.
Yeah.
And with Doctor Strange, I think they do a very good job of showing a lot of the hero myth, not the complete hero myth.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you nailed all the parts, where it's he's somebody who's part of the whole. He is a normie. I mean, he's a doctor, but he's very self-centered, or a surgeon or whatever. But that's kind of how we start out. We start out in darkness and ignorance, and don't really understand the world, don't understand the inner world, and then we have to, unfortunately, maybe suffer to at some point really bad to have that like awakening, that rebound, to realize how important our life is. And then, once we start on that journey, then it's this kind of like uphill battle in a way, because we're dealing with a lot of our traumas, a lot of the crazy parts of history, realizing that society is just completely messed up in the mind, and we're finding ways of healing ourselves, so that way we can, once we come up to that symbolic point of the mountain, the apex of the mountain, so to speak. Well, then once we have gained that light at the top, then we can go back down to the ground where most of the people are, the normies, and we can help them, those who are in search for truth, or those who are in search for wanting to understand the world and themselves better. And that's what we, that's really one of the most powerful parts of the hero's journey as far as the great work is concerned.
Yeah, that seems like the thing that a lot of people are forgetting, is that, like, that resurrection kind of aspect of the hero, like coming into it one person and failing or dying or whatever, and then coming out of that a different person, but a more confident, strident person. And yeah, it's a bummer that that's not a thing that's in hero movies now. Everything is so
perverted.
But it's this message of, like, you don't have to change.
Yep.
Like, be a child, stay a child.
Yeah.
Stagnate and stay uniform.
Yeah, it's like, as on a storytelling level, it's just not interesting or entertaining to see that. It's like, I guess the best analogy I can think of would be, if any of you guys are into video games, there are some games where you kind of like keep upgrading your stats so you become more stronger and powerful. But
I have played a lot of MMORPGs.
Yeah. But it gets to
what's that one game? Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. You can get like real jacked up in the gym and go around and beat people up, and you can take more bullets and more beatings.
Yeah, but like the point is that, like, after a while, when you get to those like super upgraded level of your game, like, it doesn't become fun anymore. You're just like unstoppable. There's no challenge there.
Yeah, you reset your stats and
yeah. So it's weird that the messaging is telling people that, like, how do I put this, like, that you don't need to upgrade. You're just fine how you are. And it's the world that's, messed up. You're fine. And
you're part of the world. If the world is messed up, it's partly your fault.
That's right.
No, but it's literally like the hero's journey is basically just how you go from a kid to an adult.
Yeah.
Like meeting the wizard or whatever is like
the elder,
like the elder, like your parents or whatever. The calling that you have is like, something happens in your childhood or whatever, it inspires you or whatever, and then you go through the process, you fail a couple times. It's literally the hero's journey is literally designed to help, like, I guess on a societal level, it seems to be designed to help people go from puberty to like the age of 25 and figure out a way to navigate their way through life like that.
Right.
You know, because by the time you complete your hero's journey and you're well established in your calling, you're supposed to be the elder.
Yeah.
You know, I refuse to watch it, but Naruto teaches Boruto, you know. I think, I don't know, I refuse to watch it. But
yeah, but I guess it's going to some examples of good hero movies or stories. Off the bat, I mean, there's Lord of the Rings, definitely. What sets Lord of the Rings separate from a lot of this kind of stuff for me, especially when I was rewatching it, is like how much like every character that I guess matters is given a chance to sort of be a hero in their own kind of way. You know, whether it's Samwise Gamgee, like the power of friendship, he balls up and, you know, he grows into a man, you know. Peregrine, what are the other hobbits' names? Peregrine Took and Pippin or something like that. Like they're even given moments where they're like, you know, they're one type of person in the beginning, and by Return of the King, they're just so, they evolve so well. And, you know, not everyone saves the day, obviously, but like everyone is given a chance to be a hero in their own kind of form. You know, and
everyone saves the day in their own little way.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And
if those two the hobbits that weren't like, if they weren't so obsessed with like relaxing and smoking weed or whatever,
yeah,
they wouldn't have met the tree people or whatever.
Yeah.
Convinced the tree people to like lay siege to the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
They convinced the forest to destroy which I think is a pretty good allegory.
Yeah,
it's very good. But what is it? Another one that's sort of like so there's Lord of the Rings, and then there's like, honestly, not the Disney version, but like the original Robin Hood story. You know, because he doesn't steal from the rich and give to the poor. He takes his friends and family or whatever, and the people he's close to, and he goes to the forest, and he just sort of messes with the sheriff because, you know, he's allowed to. He's abusing the king's power while the king is off on a crusade or whatever. But like, he ends up being knighted at the end. You know, he goes from this, like, he goes from being a caring trickster to like a knight. Like, he becomes knighted and then joins the king's crusade.
Yeah.
Like towards the end, and it's just like Disney butchered it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's getting to a point where, so there's Lord of the Rings, and then there's
I think
Robin Hood.
I think an actual Disney animation movie that I think does the hero thing pretty well. It's just the main message of it. Is the Hercules movie? In the end, like, he saves, what's the girl, Megara or something like that. The woman he's in love with. He like, I think he
totally proportional.
Yeah.
Drawing.
But I think he saves. He swims into like the river Styx or something and pulls her soul out, and sacrificing himself. And I think even Zeus the dad, I think he says something in the end of like, heroes aren't measured by the size of their strength, but rather the strength of their heart or something like that. So I'm kind of butchering it, but yeah, that's another movie that I would say does the hero thing right. And I was young when I saw that, and I think people forget like how much these kind of stories, like what they do to people, like they're really helpful for people. They're much more than I ever really kind of thought. But
because it's not a story if there's no like moral lesson, or because because all the things that make a story interesting, like, even if you take like some like Michael Bay action movie flick, You know, like the Transformers movies, they're terrible.
Yeah.
Like they're awful. But they do have a coherent story and teleology of them.
They try.
The third one.
They try.
No. Well, the third one is pretty decent. Where they're I
Is that the Mark Wahlberg one?
No, it's the fourth one.
Oh, there's 4 of those. Fuck.
There's like 5 or 6.
Jesus.
There's 7.
There's
Wow.
7. Yeah, that's right. It's insane.
Yeah. The 7th one is a reboot.
Is that the Mark Wahlberg
There's
one?
going to be more.
Oh my god.
The reboot isn't the Mark Wahlberg one. The Mark Wahlberg one is 4, 5, and 6.
Mm.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
So in the third one, like there's a decent like lesson or whatever to be had. It's don't trust the government. Basically, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like at the point is all stories have to have some kind of moral or philosophical exploration, because there's literally no point to it.
Yeah, it separates a story from just watching things happen. You know what I mean? And
who wants to watch like a fake thing, fake happening?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is if you add some fake reasons, basically.
Right.
But
I think, I wanted to say or share with any of the listeners that might be listening to this, that an allegory is a story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people do not understand allegory, and I think it's crucial to understanding the hero myth. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to share a little bit of like how I understand the hero myth from the ancient world, because I think the ancient world, just like the origin of words, the etymology of words, well, there's also something closer to the origin of the hero myth. And the hero myth goes all the way back. As far as I know, it goes back like 300,000 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. But if we look at the zodiac is all about the hero myth, because we have the sun. The sun is part of understanding the zodiac, because it's part of understanding the solar mythos. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to try to go over anybody's heads here, but the point is that if we look at Horus, the hawk in the ancient Egyptian solar mythos, Horus is translated into Jesus because they have this exact same aspects, the exact same times that they die and that they're born and all that stuff. But if you look at Horus and Jesus as the hero, you can see the science of the hero through the sun, through the cycles, because it's about understanding that when you look at the winter solstice, right? The winter solstice represents death, but really that's, you can look at that as like deep sleep. You can look at it as sleepwalkers. You can relate that to sleepwalkers, or you can also relate it to the underworld, where we do our spiritual shadow work in the dark mostly, right? But when we are springing out into, to light, where the sun starts to come up in the springtime, this is where the hero is born, because even if you look at Isis or Mother Mary as the moon, literally the moon, they're the very first full moon of the spring equinox. That is the following sun day is when Jesus or Horus is born, or rises from the tomb, or the Mother Mary or Isis has a full moon, meaning, pregnant, full with the child.
Yeah.
Being Horus or Jesus, and then the son is born, which is literally the sun is born because it does its rise after the spring equinox.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is part of understanding the hero being born again. So if we can understand that science from the literal science, so it's a literal science of understanding, the sun and moon and the equinoxes and the solstices. When we understand that, then we start to see the hero's myth. And then, of course, the hero rises where the sun goes to the peak in the summertime, where the sun is at its highest. Well, that's because it's light and consciousness being at its high point. So it's, but it's also, we have to remember that it has to do with fertility rights and, also when to plant from, spring to summer. And then in the fall is where, the hero starts to fall. Like Horus is Ra or Osiris, the father of Horus, is part of Horus. So it's the sun going to its back down, starting to fall. That's why the leaves, turn color and fall. And then Horus's father, Osiris, is deposed, is killed by Set, because sun sets. Right. It's a sunset. So then, then it goes into that underworld where everything is, dead.
Yeah.
But it's all about, this is a spiritual lesson. This is a spiritual science. And this helps us understand the hero myth, because that's what they preserved in this zodiacal cycle. It's a yearly cycle. So that corresponds to our consciousness. And if we align to that, then, we start to understand that we are really aligned to, physically, mentally, and spiritually to this cycle.
Right.
And so this hero myth is so old, so ancient. And when you really start to see the purity of it, then you start to see how it becomes perverted. And as you guys are seeing right now, it is very perverted. It's very degraded. It's very scattered, and so what we're trying to do is, like, that's why I like Joseph Campbell's book, A Hero with 1,000 Faces, because it's about understanding that we are trying to put the pieces back to the puzzle and trying to understand this hero myth, because it's very spread out and not pure or holy any longer.
Yeah.
And all good.
I was saying, since you brought up the hero's journey, maybe we can go over it a little bit. Where are you? There you go. Can you guys see that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So first, it starts out with a call to adventure.
It looks like the diagram for a menstrual cycle in a sex ed class.
Maybe I should pick a different one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, it's fine.
Yeah. So it starts out with just a call to journey. I was looking at this earlier, and I was kind of thinking of, like, as to why people would I don't know, maybe not quite be offended by it, but just want to reject this, because, as we said before, like, it's a lot of this is about just growing into an adulthood. And we start with the call to journey. I can see why a lot of people are afraid of that, because it seems like nowadays people are just so in their own little bubble that it's hard to break out of it. And
they don't want responsibility.
Yeah. Or
you can take responsibility even if you're in a bubble. Like, that's exactly what I've done. You can do literally anything you want with the internet. But oh well, I guess I just don't understand lazy people.
Yeah, I mean, more bubble is just like, like breaking out
I know
of
what you mean.
breaking out of something that you're
staying in the same
yeah
spot,
yeah
being comfortable. Yeah.
yeah break out of just being comfortable and you know seeing what else is out there. And also like this middle section right here, the mentor helper, challenging temptations. I mean, it seems like we're just become a culture that is just so divorced from wanting challenges, but more just obsessed with temptations now. Um, like when I look at like Pride Month shit, it's when I look at the Pride Month stuff, it used to be something about just celebrating love, but now it's just about celebrating temptation and debauchery. And it's like I think part of why that's gone crazy is because we've forgotten like these basic principles of like the importance of challenge and you know of learning. you know yeah, and then next is you know revelation, or just simply just having some kind of a falling out or death, symbolically, whatever you want to call it. Again, just this need to this importance of like giving up something and coming out of it a different person.
As Jordan Peterson puts it, your dad dies.
Yeah.
He doesn't say it like that, but that's basically what he says.
And
it's
then
true. Hero's journey, that is true.
Yeah. And then, you know, transformation, accepting that your life is different and growing out of it, and then, you know, just coming out of it a different person, a more mature, stronger person.
Yeah, that's the
And
rebirth.
and we're seeing like the result of when people kind of go away from this. I mean, guys, I guess we could just bring up like just COVID, how it really just showed like the wimpiness in people. And
I did not get a single COVID-19 vaccination, and I face no consequences, and I'm in California. So literally anyone else could have done the same. They chose not to. They chose to comply.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know?
I mean, I didn't comply at all. I mean, I lost my job because of it, but I mean, I'm fine.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, and
well, I didn't have to sacrifice anything for my beliefs. Way to go to you.
But yeah, it really sucks to see people sticking their heads out and being different, kind of being chastised. We sort of like, I don't know how we allowed this culture to sort of be turned into that, but I mean, right now, like the whole Kanye thing is happening, and like he's being
sued 250 million or billion, one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's just being chastised for billion. I think million. I don't think it's billion.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like with Jones and getting hit with that billion mark.
Did correct facts about the
just for questioning.
Uh-oh, did he get cut off? Uh-oh.
Yeah, shouldn't have said that, Trevor.
Yeah, just seeing what happened to Kanye, and all he did was he just presented another point of view that is different from what everyone's so used to. And you know, like just earlier I saw people, some artists like did the obvious thing of like drawing his face with a swastika in his forehead, because I mean obviously he's a Nazi now. So I mean, like, what do you think is like some of the effects of like people ignoring the importance of hero stories, Nate?
Well, I mean, the negative effect is just, never knowing who we individually are, let alone who we are as a species and who we are in this universe, and what we're really here to do. A lot of people ignore the fact that this has been talked about since the dawn of time, since we've been able to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very big issue that a lot of people are very quick to ignore. There he is.
I'll flip the camera for Oh, the
yeah,
button
yeah,
didn't
on
get.
your phone.
Yeah. So Brave's done this. It's gone pitch black for no reason,
Wow.
and
Weird.
I can't close the tabs.
Strange.
Tabs are refusing to close.
Wow. All because you said the K word, K name.
Honestly, that is what happened. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have your
Yeah.
phone, so it's all good.
I did. He sued 250 billion because I spelled billion on accident.
Uh-huh.
Yep, everything's gone to crap with Brave.
Weird.
Well,
For reference, this is Dissenter,
Mhm.
and Dissenter is just fine. So, oh,
Anyways, well, we were talking about just like what are the effects that we've noticed as far as like people drifting away from the hero story on a societal level.
well, I just wanted to add that the whole point of, like, when you look at heroes all through history, if you can get people to avoid any of the heroes, like anybody who's good, to think that, like if you can get people to resist any, especially the mob, if you can get them to resist any of the actual stories of heroes or the actual heroes, or any of the stories that make the individual be so inclined and curious to go in search of the self. You can't control somebody who goes in search of the self.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier to control those who do not want personal responsibility. It's so much easier to control those who are anti. Oh wow! I just got
sorry. That was
weird.
was
Okay.
my phone picking up on the mic.
But to basically just make everyone into an anti-hero and more pro-villain.
Yeah.
A lot of these people that I know who don't like hero stories, especially if there's a white male involved, they are very
Oh, heaven forbid people born wrong are moral people.
Yeah, so it's all about this whole idea of getting everybody to try to join this dark force of being
secular Catholicism.
Yeah.
Yes.
That reminds me in what's the second new Star Wars, it's called what was it called?
That's the one with the Holdo maneuver, right? The thing that completely breaks. It's where she takes the spaceship.
Yeah, that one. Whatever that one was. Whatever that one was called. Like there was a Last Jedi. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But there's one of like the storylines had like the weirdest, most like conformist type message. It's when the purple haired general, she's or Leia, I'm not sure, one of them, they're pissed at what's the pilot guy's name? Poe. Yeah. No, Poe. Yeah, they're pissed at Poe because
they're ace pilot who never loses a battle ever.
Like I think he sort of like did some kind of he destroyed like the bad guys' like some destroyer ship, and they're giving him shit about that, and their message is just do as authority says, you're out of line. And it was just the weirdest message that I got from like, out of all things, a Star Wars movie, that it's about.
The only reason they were able to get away is because their other weapons, apparently in the story, on that ship weren't strong enough to penetrate the shields at the distance, and they kept maintaining that distance even though they couldn't travel through hyperspace or whatever.
Yeah,
which is still stupid. But even within the stupid framing of the movie, Poe was right.
Yeah, he technically
can't get away unless we destroy these cannons.
Yeah, he made the rest
away
of
because they destroyed the cannons.
Yeah, he made the rest of the movies possible because because
yeah.
I think like right before that happens, they show that same ship destroy like some base that was on whatever planet that they came from. Yeah, like they showed that same weapon that the bad guys used, obliterate that, and he destroys it, and they're pissed at him because he didn't say to pull back. Like, it was the weirdest, most like unexciting like message I've ever gotten out of a Star Wars ever.
I really wasn't as bad as the other as the C plot, where it was the neocons' position on war profiteering, celebrated and praised unironically.
Oh, you're talking about when Finn and whoever go to the casino planet because they're selling weapons or something like that? My memory is...
and then they meet a hacker smuggler guy. Yeah. And then he was like, oh, you're upset at the First Order because they engage in war profiteering. But did you know that the rebels who engaged in a war also engaged in war profiteering? War profiteering is okay because everyone does it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really liked, and you guys are probably make fun of me, but I really like Avatar.
I will. Which one?
Well, not the blue people.
The blue.
Bugger off.
Yeah, I love Avatar. But the point that I want to make is that Finn in Star Wars wakes up in the military, right? Mm-hmm. He wakes up to the fact like he's part of this like dark world order.
Yeah.
And he, it's the same with the guy, I can't remember his name in Avatar.
It was done better in Avatar, yeah.
What was his name?
But it's the same principle. Yeah. It's like waking up in the dark. Mm-hmm. You wake up to the fact that you're part of this, cult, and then you get your calling and you go, on your journey, your inward journey. But obviously in the movie, it's this, artistic expression to show that this is what you're doing is in Avatar, I really like it because it's about recognizing that you are part of this this
machine.
Nature.
Oh, okay.
You're part of nature, and you are, because that's why he goes. That's why no one else was really having an avatar, mm-hmm. because they weren't ready for that. Mostly everybody else was the people that still looked human, and they were not, they were ready to kill anybody that was the blue people, most of them. But the point is that if we see this, like, and it's really interesting because you will never see anybody waking up in the military in a regular movie. Mm-hmm. It always has to be some kind of sci-fi movie. It always has to be some fantasy movie for that to happen.
Yeah.
And that's because they know that if they can do it in a fantasy movie that most people can't see allegorically. Mm-hmm. And so they have no problem with that kind of movie being a form of good propaganda, if you want to look at it that way. But it's really interesting stuff like that. I've seen a lot of movies like that. They're not coming to my head right now, but those two in particular were really good for that reason.
I do find a huge bummer that the new Star Wars movie didn't really do much with that Finn character's
the most
arc.
Interesting character to ever come out of the Star Wars franchise. They did nothing with.
Yeah, they really didn't. Like, they just turned him into like a comic relief or something, and it was like him becoming a Jedi would have been a better.
Wasn't even funny.
Huh? Yeah. Oh no, they were terrible jokes. Yeah. Like, I remember, I think in the second one. Han
was better comic relief in the original trilogy, and he was supposed to be taken seriously.
The prequels are funnier than the new movies, and that's saying a lot.
Prequels.
Well, there was thought put into it.
Yeah.
As much as I hate Jar Jar, there was thought put into Jar Jar.
Yeah. But
people cared about Jar Jar somehow.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but it's such a bummer because that, like we said, that could have been a new kind of story arc for the Star Wars universe, like someone coming from like a stormtrooper becoming a Jedi. That would have been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Different,
There's a
but
Battlefront game where that's the story.
is it
There's an like
is it the second one, the Battlefront 2?
I don't know, but there's this Battlefront game that I had on the DS.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the story is there are two stormtroopers,
Mm-hmm.
and they find out that they can do the Force or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The one that you ends up joining the Jedi and the Rebels,
Right, and the other one's a Sith.
and the other one ends up being a Sith, and they have like a Naruto, and then it ends with like a Naruto Sasuke, battle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you just sort of go into like this lava planet or whatever, and the Sith guy's all corrupt, looking with like the eyes and like the skin piercing stuff.
Yeah.
Like not like he has like earrings and like no stuff, like his face is
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then like you have the sword fight or whatever. You press X like for 20 minutes straight because this is really tough, and like it's very interesting.
Yeah.
They could have done that. They could have done.
There's so much they could have done with those movies.
It's because like the studios specifically, and I've said this before on your show, they've just inherited this empire,
mm-hmm.
and they have absolutely no idea what to do with it.
Yeah, that's a huge bummer.
They don't understand stories. They make products. They make very flashy, very bright, very colorful stuff or whatever, but they don't really like it's almost as if like they have the action movie in their head. They have the romance movie in their head. They have they have the product.
Yeah.
But then they sort of like, okay, so how do we just fit the story in there into this product or whatever? And so what ends up happening is Disney, when they bought Lucasfilm, they had access to like something in the realm of 30 years worth of like canonized graphic novels.
Yeah,
sure, but I can't right now. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
they want to watch. My family wants to watch TV with me, but there's a.
We'll be done in about 10 minutes. So.
Yeah, I'll join them. But there's a what is it? But there's like this. I lost my train of thought. There we go. But there's like 50, 60. No, Star Wars hasn't been around that long. There's like 30, 40 years of like a canonized thing, and all they had to do was animate it. No, sorry. All they had to do was like
film it,
either do it in live action or animate it. That's all they had to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of
they chose to make something terrible.
Yeah, my theory as to like why new Star Wars is terrible and why Rings of Power is terrible. I think that the pattern is something like this. Like the action movies back in the day, they were made and they kind of excited like the kind of the jock type of person, but the people that ended up getting work as like a writer, filmmaker, they were usually like the kind of outsider, wimpy kind of theater kid. And so like they brought that angst, like that anti-jock angst into these films, and that's why you're getting crappy Star Wars, crappy Lord of the Rings. Like they just I remember watching the new Lord, the last Star Wars movie, whatever the hell it was called, the last of the third one, and I just got a bless you. I just remember just getting a vibe that like it was made by people that can't stand like the fans, like like they hated.
Well, Hitler, Lenin, and Trudeau. What they all have in common is aside from being raging leftists, they're artsy theater kids.
Yeah. So I think
Hitler probably the famous one among the artsy types.
Yeah, so I think that's why a big chunk of why these movies suck. They're just made by people that are very resentful,
They have no respect for anything.
Yeah, no respect for the old, which is so bizarre because it's confusing, like the strategy of all this, because a lot of Hollywood is banking on nostalgia, but there's also this weird animosity towards like the fandoms that keep the nostalgia alive. So
when my generation starts having children, this nostalgia will mean nothing.
yeah,
Hollywood will die.
yeah. So it's really
My
confusing.
children would have grown up with like the remakes and the sequels of once great good things.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I do something about it, but
Mm.
it's going to take me a while and I don't have the money yet, but I plan to.
Yeah, so
I wanted to talk about the like what happens to the hero when they become overwhelmed.
mm-hmm.
Because I think that's really important too. Like, so for instance, if the hero does all this work and then comes back to, save people, and they're not received well, they are ridiculed, they're harassed, then it can be so overwhelming that the hero actually becomes the villain, or becomes a normie again, just becomes part of the people again.
Yeah.
In a way that where they're like pretending to be something that, or they're pretending to be a normie, knowing all this information that they have, which is,
yeah,
man, I saw so many people like this during the lockdowns.
yeah,
So many people who, and even 9/11, same thing, where I saw people wake up and they were wanting to know what's going on. They were doing research. And then as soon as everything starts to go back to normal, it's like, oh, everything's back to normal. So
yeah,
why talk about it anymore? And why act like I know anything anymore?
yeah.
Because they'll do it again.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
They established a precedent.
Yeah.
Yep. And but you can see that people get so overwhelmed by how much they're ridiculed. I mean, when you're carrying that cross on your back of truth, people hate you forever. People just
the cross does look like a T. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
T for truth.
Right. Because it's the truth is a burden, especially in a world where people refuse truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to walk with that. And people are going to stay willfully ignorant to it, and they will do anything to make sure that they bury you. And that is what it's all about, is completely burying the hero. No one wants anything to do with the hero because the hero fucking sucks. The life of a hero sucks.
Yeah.
And it's not it doesn't look, we've made the hero just look really fucking wimpy, like you guys were talking about earlier. And that's the truth.
Yeah. Another thing,
even with modern examples like Harry Potter, like he doesn't, like he still like just sort of lets everything happen around him. Like in a way, like the Harry Potter story is sort of a revenge story against Voldemort, but it's just like there's a school period where he goes through, he learn again, he's right about everything, but he just has to acquire power so that he can have his way. Don't get me wrong, at least the Harry Potter guy suffers. At least he has to like be homeless and travel the world at the final movie, and he's like an orphan, and he has like lives with an abusive family or whatever. Like I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but like for a story, it's kind of necessary. Suffering is very necessary for a story, because like when they get out of the suffering, then it's like a I don't want to say euphoric, but like there's a sort of like I don't know, like when you engage with a good story, I think I've said this before, it's sort of like a I don't know if I said it on the show, but when you engage with a good story, it's sort of it's like a spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've said this to you on when you were on my show, Nate. Like engaging with a good story is a spiritual experience. Like it's not like an Abrahamic one or whatever, like a polytheistic religious experience, but there is something spiritual about watching a story from beginning to end and getting the moral lessons from the story from beginning to end.
That's right.
You know, and figuring out what the utility of that story is like it's just like it really does warm your heart in a way, almost.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, like when I was watching Lord of the Rings, I was watching Lord of the Rings the other day, just good moments.
My friends, you bow to no one.
Yeah, good stuff like that.
Like, that's such a good scene. You know, I don't know why it makes me like tear up a little bit. I have no idea.
Yeah, like there's I do love the scene when I think right before Sam and Frodo go into the volcano, I think Frodo collapses and Sam's just giving him this like little speech of like, remember the Shire, like there's still good things out there kind of shit, and stuff like that just sticks with you. And
yeah, for sure.
Frodo was literally condemned to carry the darkness of the world while going on a perilous journey and receiving very little thanks throughout the way for the sake of others.
Yeah,
only to like suffer for the rest of his life because of it. Like, this is good.
It's great stuff.
I wouldn't wish that on anyone at all, ever, but it's good.
I like that you brought that up because, that part is so powerful with me in my personal life, just because I'm very thankful that anytime that I have went so far into the dark negative end, I'm very thankful that there have been people there to like, say, hey, don't forget about all the like lovely positive things in the world, and that's actually what inspired me to learn more about equilibrium. And the more that I got into the mystery traditions, that's where I started to learn that better. So I don't live a world or live a life full of negativity and darkness, because man, it's just like, God, it's so overwhelming and stressful. But I think we do have to kind of go through that a little bit, just to get a taste of it and just to realize it. But hopefully we have somebody, or we have some kind of realization that that's not going to lead us in the right direction.
I posted a meme on my Instagram where it has the doomer. Like, I made this myself. It's like, help me, Giga Chad. I'm lonely, angry, sad, miserable, depressed, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on forever. And then I have the Giga Chad say, and I posted this with intent. This wasn't like I wasn't feeling cute. Like, there's a purpose to this. It says, and then the Giga Chad guy says, eat meat, read Bible, watch anime, start a business. I'm not kidding. Like, that's literally it. And then the doomer turns into a Chad, and then the Giga Chad says, "It's like, are you better?" So, yes, like that's literally it. Eat meat, read Bible, watch anime, start a business, no more depression. I was really depressed last year, and like I just did that. I was like, oh,
I can't imagine anyone not being depressed like these last couple of years. It's just seeing how things have happened.
Like, took 90% of society from you.
Just
like dangled it over your head and said, you could have society back if you just do what we say.
I think a lot of people
being honest.
A lot of people are being honest when they say that they are depressed, but they're not being honest in how they're dealing with their depression. And that's the thing.
Eating ice cream and curling up in a ball will not cure your depression. I've tried.
For a few minutes, it might.
It depends on what flavor ice cream, though.
No. When you get your salty tears and your mint chip ice cream, like, it's gross.
But I'm not sure which one of you guys brought it up. Like this idea of like the current culture like tearing down heroes and their importance. That just reminded me of like the last, was it Endgame, the last big Marvel movie, Endgame, and how
Endgame was always going to be a disappointment.
but I just the thing that annoyed me about that was that they took the Hulk,
Captain Marvel showing up.
No, that actually yeah. But they made the Hulk, and they made him into like a little wuss, like he's like wearing glasses and he's like in tune with his feelings now. But also they tore down.
Mr. Hulk is just the dumbest thing ever. Yeah, Hulk represents the duality of man. You know, the civilized man in the cubicle, saving the world, and the rampaging monster who just bashes the skull in of some twit, you know, because he's trying to like take over the world or whatever, and like it's supposed to represent that like the duality of man is a good thing. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, but now they
mix the duality of man. It just
but for some reason they've turned Hulk until just nothing more than like a comic relief character, and it's such a fucking bummer because he can be fun as a character, but for some reason they just make him doing like what's this shit called, the DAP or whatever, and it's
God. Yeah.
When does he? Oh God, that's.
I think in Endgame, I think he does that, and it's like, oh, it's funny because it's
out of style when Hillary Clinton did it on live television.
Yeah, so it was like. So they did that, but they also
I remember that. I held a funeral procession for the dab, you know.
Yeah. But also they also tore down Thor in that movie. Like they turned him into like a drunken buffoon. When, like, I think out of all the Marvel characters, I guess the core original ones, like he kind of does come from a nice arc. His first movie, like I think he has all his powers taken away. He gets sent to Earth, and it's been a while since I saw that fucking movie, but I think he earns his way to be able to wield the hammer again. So that's nice. But now he's just a comic relief now, and it's
Did you guys not like the new Thor? What was it called?
I didn't see it. I
pirated it. I got halfway through it. I can't finish the movie. Really? It's so terrible. It's like even getting it for free, it's not worth my time.
Did you?
You didn't like those screaming goats?
No, that was another dead meme. But there was but like
I thought that was hilarious.
It got to a point where where like the hammer and like the axe or whatever are like having like a
sexual like a
sexual like tension thing with Thor, and I'm just like, oh God.
I thought it was cheesy, but like in a way where I felt like I could handle it. I didn't think it was too bad. I thought I was going to hate it. I did not like the second one at all. I thought it was horrible.
Thor Ragnarok was like fun. a terrible movie, but like it had a decent story, you know.
I think the first one was okay. The second one was awful. I think the last one probably. I know you probably won't agree, but I think it was the better one of the bunch.
Ragnarok was really good. I really liked Ragnarok. That one was a really good Thor movie. If Thor had died in Thor Ragnarok, that would have been perfect. Yeah. It would have been a nice end. Or if he had like died in like Endgame or whatever. Sorry, if he had died in Infinity War. Yeah. But not like with the stone, but like because he got like pummeled to death.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been a fitting end. You know?
Yeah.
Sure. I wanted to say one more thing. I know you want to get going, but I just wanted to say that one of the things that I really would like more people to understand is to do more research on these ideas and where they come from, the ideas of these comic characters, because a lot of people think that it's just like, oh, it was made up in the Marvel universe, not knowing that no, these are actual these characters come from, you know,
mythology.
Mythology, yeah. And if we are ignorant to that, then we don't really appreciate what they really represent, and how they're being, you know, corrupted, how they're being manipulated, how they're, or even, you know, if you want to look at it in a good light, there is definitely a lot of good in it, and you can find a lot of good in it. But
yeah,
I think it's good to see, you know, the whole spectrum from the standpoint of understanding the origins of the characters.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
And for all that, you could go to cubbyhole.com.
That's right. With you.
All right. I guess we can start winding down. I guess who wants to, I guess, plug first, Nate or Trevor?
Well, I'm already plugged.
Okay, Nate's good.
I have a lot to plug. Are you sure you don't want to go first?
Go for it.
All right. My name is Trevor Brown. I am the editor-in-chief of Acropolis News Network and the CEO of Social Media Simplified. Okay, I can give myself whatever name and title I want because they're both mine. I own it. So basically, I can help anyone doing any level of social media with all of their creator needs, or if you're just on casual on social media cloning. I also do social media cloning from for big creators as well. Helped so many people with this already. What we got to do, go to sms.theacropolisnews.com for the social media services, or check out my news website at theacropolisnews.com. Thank you so much.
All right, Nate.
Yeah, so my name's Nate Cap, and thank you again for having me on this awesome show. I really enjoy talking about the hero myth because there's so many important aspects to it. And if you want to learn more about the inner workings of the hero, you can go to cubbyhole.com. That's CUBBYWHOLE.com. And you can also follow me at Outcasting with Nate Cap on Telegram, where I'm sharing weekly videos. There won't be one this week or last week, so nothing to look forward to there. But yeah, I don't know when this show is going to come out anyway. But anyway, yeah, thanks again for having me on, and
all right,
we'll see you on the next one.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm Senor Filth. I'm starting to vend, so be on the lookout for that. I'll try to share when I'm going to be vending, where. Yeah, just if you like the show, like, share, subscribe. You're always welcome to join in the comments and, you know, tell us what you think, if you have any suggestions or whatever. Yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.
Lightsabers don't work the way they do in Star Wars.